The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Charles and Dom, and sometimes Lachlan, but always you, the dear listener. I hope you're having a lovely little day at the moment and enjoying yourself very much. I don't want to take anything away from it, but look, I think it's time that you and I had a talk. So let's put on some serious but stern music. Thank you, Lachlan, in the editing suite. I just want to talk to you, the listener, for a moment. Are you free? Cool. Okay. So you might want to take a seat. What the hell's going on? Hey? I give you podcasts to listen to and you just don't? I thought we had a deal. I thought we were friends. I thought that this parasocial relationship we developed was working for both of us, and here I am making episodes of awesome podcasts like the Shot podcast, like Welcome to the Future, like the Chaser podcast, and you're just not listening to them. Huh? What's going on there? I thought we had a deal, and you just backstabbed me in my ears, I suppose. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to make this serious. You're going to go to your room. I don't care what you're doing right now, whether you're running, you're probably not running. Whether you're in your car, that is statistically what you're most likely doing right now. I want you to just sit down and listen to an episode of Welcome to the Future, where Charles and Dom talk about organoid intelligence, and it is good, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to follow Welcome to the Future in the appropriate podcast feeds on your favorite podcast listening app. And then we're not going to have this discussion again, okay? I shouldn't have lashed out. That was mean of me. I hope this doesn't cause a rift between us. I love you. Enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Welcome to the Future.
Charles, you sound so upbeat about the future, which is odd, given every single news article I read about the future is terrifying.
Well, the thing is, today we're not going to talk about Bluetooth.
Are you sure?
No Bluetooth.
Are we at the bottom of that well at last?
No, because actually this is actually about the real future.
Oh, yeah.
And the point is artificial intelligence, AI. That's old news. That's yesterday's news.
Because every episode of this podcast so far has been either about Bluetooth or AI.
Yep.
Are you telling me we've come up with a third topic?
This is called, and this is actually suggested by a listener of this podcast, Kelly.
Yeah.
Who I have to thank
Hi, Kelly.
for sending this in. Organoid intelligence.
Oh, good. Let's find out what that is after this. Organoid is not a word that I've heard before, Charles. And frankly, if you'd said it to me, I would have expected it to involve porn.
Nope.
Okay.
It's the future.
Right.
So, bit of a tale. I'll start at the beginning. 2006. So, computer scientists facing a bit of a problem, which is that microchips are not small enough.
Oh.
Right? So, Moore's law, how, microchips halve in size every 18 months, and thus their energy consumption halves every 18 months, and thus they speed up.
And they get twice as powerful.
Every 18 months, right? It's a sort of relationship sort of thing. The point is, by 2006, scientists could go, okay, there is a physical limit. There is literally a point at which electrons get too big for the size of the microchips that we are making.
Yeah, aren't they going down to something like 3 nanometer chips at the moment? Yeah. Which is just insanely small.
And it's going to get to the point where, like, you literally, it's just a physical limit where suddenly, instead of talking about sort of Newtonian physics where things operate, I mean, I think they already operate at the sort of quantum scale, but those quantum effects become so massive in that thing because in such a small space that suddenly it all becomes very unpredictable, right? So they had to solve that problem. So somebody comes up with the idea of, instead of using like physical things like silicon and metal, right, to make these chips, why don't we use the same foundational things as organic life uses?
Oh, wow.
So we have chemicals and organic chemistry to do it, right? And so what they did is they scraped some skin, right? And the first test was, can we create brain cells from skin? Can we just take some skin cells and make them into brain cells, basically?
Okay, can we kind of make neural pathways
exist
within skin cells?
Because then what we can do is we can sort of own a substance that is able to transmit information, electrons, all that sort of stuff that we need for computer chips, but it's doing it at a chemical level rather than at a physical level.
So not using okay. So we basically what the brain can do in a very, very small amount of space relative to even a computer chip.
So these scientists, they did this, they got it working, made brain cells from skin, they won a Nobel Prize for it.
Wow.
2012, right? Okay. So at that point they were just trying to solve the simple problem of, can we create brain cells, right? But then this one guy kept on saying, what are some applications for this? Do these brain cells have some sort of consciousness? Because we've got complete power over these brain cells here. There's no ethical issue. We haven't taken someone's brain and are now using it in the lab. But if we start sort of building out some of these skin cells that are now brain cells, could we actually start communicating with those brain cells?
Oh, so designing a brain that is patented and has no free will.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Anyway, and this is all like in the realms of, it sounds science fiction-y. These are all well-respected scientists.
Nobel Prize winners.
And Nobel Prize winning scientists across the academy, right? And so they did that. They started being able to communicate and sort of train these brain cells to sort of reliably receive, and they were able to sort of train the brain cells to sort of have simple responses. There's nowhere near level of consciousness yet, right? And that is where we're at the moment, right?
Okay.
So we're at the moment, there's reassuring articles that Kelly sent me going, look, it'll be 100 years before that becomes a problem. Let's not worry about it. Now, this other guy has now come out and said, well, hang on. Back in 2015, the whole point about AI was everyone said, well, we don't have to worry about the consciousness of AI because it'll be like 100 years before you can chat to a robot and then be convinced that it's a robot. Fast forward to 8 years later, we are now all just chatting to chatbot GPT and just convinced that we're talking to, artificial intelligence has largely been solved by these large language models.
And
the Turing test has been
have married them, which is, a far more sincere form of connection. It wouldn't be a wonderful thing to be able to marry a skin cell.
So the point is that if this organoid intelligence, which they've now started mastering, can be sort of matched with the same type of technology and sort of thinking and training, because they've started to be able to train organoid intelligence, then instead of it being 100 years away that we have to worry about whether these models will achieve consciousness, we're talking about maybe in the next 8 years, we're talking about something where it could actually be a real problem where these brain cells start achieving some level of consciousness.
Do you think it's possible, Charles, that we, ourselves, humanity, are a scraping from the knee of God?
Oh, I think that's definitely true.
A scab that instead of flicking in the bin, God just went, no, let's see if I can make this into something a little bit better.
Well, this is one of the funny things is, so say I scraped your skin.
Yeah.
All the problems that you face would then express themselves in the brain cells, even though the cells didn't come from your brain.
Oh, my God. So if you made a brain out of my skin cells, would it have all of my problems?
Yes.
Nobody wants that. That's not organoid. That's organoid trauma.
No, because this is the thing. So they scraped Alzheimer's, people who had Alzheimer's, and developed their skin cells into brain cells, hoping that, maybe we can revive their brains by developing brain cells that don't have Alzheimer's. But instead, all their brains, the sort of skin-based brain cells, also had Alzheimer's. So they couldn't get around the problem. And actually they're going, well, actually now, we can actually research Alzheimer's brains in a Petri dish because we now have access to live brain cells.
Without having to lobotomise Alzheimer's people. Charles, if only some sort of physical specimens free of any defect had been found. If only humans, I don't know, in some form of master race had been identified in a way that wouldn't be problematic at all. You could just get those people and turn their skin, their beautiful Aryan skin, into a some sort of a brain bot.
I know you're joking, but I am willing to proffer up my skin for science if it involves creating a master race of Charleses that
are easily sunburnt. Right. Yeah. Well, you and I could both give an amazing male pattern baldness computer, couldn't we?
Do you think that maybe? So does that mean that essentially what will happen is it'll be Brad Pitt or something? Like we'll end up being run by the best looking.
It'll be much worse. It'll be Mark Zuckerberg. He's already part computer.
No, it'll be Taylor Swift. It won't be Mark Zuckerberg.
But he's going to invent the technology.
No one's going to get an OI intelligence bot and go, I want the Mark Zuckerberg model. You're going to want the Taylor Swift model.
The computer that runs the world, Charles, will have been designed by him. Because this is what every Silicon Valley billionaire wants to achieve immortality.
Yeah.
This is how they're going to do it. Zuckerberg's going to scrape a little bit of his putrid skin.
You can get a Musk bot.
And Elon Musk, of course, will do that. And there'll be a perpetual. I mean, he's already ruined Twitter. Imagine what an organoid intelligence Elon Musk bot would do to the world.
Hey, Jeff. That would be the Jeff Bezos sort of. Hey.
No, the worst. It'll only be the worst people who are turned into computers, Charles. It won't be kind people. It's certainly there's not going to be a charity like someone who devotes their life to good works. They're not going to be an organoid intelligence. They'll be destroyed by the organoid intelligence.
Surely Jay-Z would have it.
A rhyming intelligence. Well, that'd be good. That wouldn't be too bad.
No, but he's quite entrepreneur. Like
that's true.
Yeah, I think he'll
first billionaire. OI can be
He'll
Jay-Z.
be Jay-Z. Everyone would buy that.
Well, you'd get a Beyonce computer, wouldn't you? The two of them.
So the thing is, it sounds all very dystopic, right? Dystopian.
It certainly does.
But look, there is actually a sort of good news angle to it.
Well, is it less likely to be horrifying than ChatGPT? I think I'd rather an intelligence that in some way resembled a human brain rather than simply the absolute mess of ethics that is anything completely artificial.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, there's huge, like I got sent all these ethical issues by Kelly. But,
yeah, but
I didn't actually read
That's
it.
right.
It's so boring.
The best way to deal with that is don't worry about it. Let opinion writers wrestle with that. And we were talking in yesterday's podcast about how 70 years ago someone had warned about climate change. That's the sort of thing you ignore.
Yeah, no, you just out of mind, out of sight.
I mean, that sort of thing really slows you down on the breakthroughs. What are the implications of this thing I've invented?
So, but the good news is, aside from all the ethical problems, there is a sort of good news, which is that organoid intelligence operates at a scale far smaller than microchips. Right. So we're talking minimum 10,000-fold reduction in size. Right. So think about it. So at the moment, they actually have developed a supercomputer that matches the human brain in terms of its number of connections and things like that. It's a supercomputer. Costs $600 million to make. It's the size of 2 tennis courts. And it is unlikely that you'd be able to get it down much smaller than that using microchips. With a organoid intelligence, we're talking about the size of your fist. Like, that is the size of your brain.
The mailed fist that will destroy us all.
And so that means that like things like our phones are going to be either vastly more intelligent, vastly sort of thinner and slimmer and things like that. And the amount of energy required also goes down 10,000-fold.
Imagine not having to carry a phone.
Well, the thing is, no, but you'll also have to, it'll be a different form of energy. It won't be battery. It'll be like you give it a snack. You have to feed your phone celery.
Fantastic. So our phone is like a toddler.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or a toddler with all the world's information at their resources.
Well, actually, my 5-year-old's pretty confident she knows all the world's information. But, I mean, Charles, we won't go into this in detail, but the other version of this, I interviewed actually the other day a world pioneer in quantum computing.
Oh, yes.
Which is a similarly ridiculously vast improvement in computing power. It can perform calculations so complicated that conventional computers couldn't possibly perform them given available time. There's simply not enough time
in the universe.
It would take millions of years in order to go and get them done. But the problem with this,
things like cracking my password.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You can basically trivially crack any encryption scheme, which is great news. And I asked this expert what would happen if you used those quantum computers to develop scams on the internet. And she said, well, it'd be very hard to tell that they were fake. The only problem with quantum computing is that, as I understand it, genuinely some of the absolute leaders in the world are Australian, which makes you think it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. I can't conceive of a technology where Australia is actually leading the world.
But actually don't worry too much, Dom, because if it's anything like the Black Box or the Hills Hoist or the Victor mower, those iconic Australian inventions, the patent will be sold off to some American
thank goodness.
Well before it gets commercialised.
Excellent. All right. Well, we might talk more about quantum computing some other time. I don't know whether I'm reassured or terrified by this. I love the idea of a tiny phone that has snacks, though. So go on, tech, go on. And the important thing is it doesn't matter what we think because they'll just invent it anyway. They never stop.
And the good news is probably the best way to communicate, because the whole thing is, how do you actually train your phone or whatever that's organoid intelligence? And the answer is, I think we all know, Bluetooth.
They're going to invent the world's most amazing device, and then it will have Bluetooth, and it won't work. There you go. So the future looks
just
familiar.
won't be able to connect to it.
Yeah, it'd be like
They'll be about to take over the world's, communication system and destroy it like a Skynet. But it'll all be run by Bluetooth.
It's kind of reassuring that if a real Skynet was developed, it would simply break. That's something that the Terminator movie never explored. Is it kind of liquid metal T1000 just going connection error?
Failure to connect.
All right, that's a good note to leave it on. Thank you, Charles.
Our gear is from Road. We're part of the Iconoclast Network. Back next week.